Another aspect of this movie I really wanted to talk about and delve into at least a little bit was the music, because I feel like the most underrated and most powerful aspect of it is definitely the soundtrack itself, especially because of how they integrate music into the storyline of the actual film, since Sammy wants to be a blues music player. And they even have the narrator explain that Sammy is one of those very few individuals who is capable of playing music in such a frequency that it aligns vibrational talents from the past and future. And they give us a really cool sequence during the dance hall scene where we get to see individuals from multiple eras of Black culture all celebrating in the same night. And that was definitely one of the most powerful sequences in the entire film, although it did feel somewhat ritualistic, and I did have to look away at a certain point because it felt like it was rituals happening. I also see a lot of people claiming that the ending is implying that Sammy chose his talent over religion and thus sold his soul to the devil in order to continue on and become a successful blues musician, but I don't agree with that. And I actually feel like what the ending is trying to say is that you cannot allow your talent to be taken by the devil, and you cannot allow yourself to succumb to other people's ideas for you. Because there's nothing that Sammy loves or wants to do in the movie more than be a musician. And he is not trying to seek out these people in spite of his father or in spite of his religious belief. In fact, he is actually quite the opposite, trying to connect to others and his family, specifically his older cousin. I believe the guiding factor that allows Sammy to make the decision to go pursue a blues artist at the end of the movie is the fact that pretty much everyone sacrifices themselves in order to protect this gift so that Sammy can go on in order to cultivate this talent into God's given purpose for it. And I personally watched the movie through the lens of seeing this battle take place between good and evil, or God and the devil, for Sammy. So by that moment at the end, when Sammy arrives back at his father's church service and his father asks him to put the guitar down and we see him leave, I don't view that as him rejecting the church. Instead, I believe this is Sammy's way of rejecting the oppression faced by his ancestors, since Remick has now planted the idea in his mind that everything that he's been interacting with his entire life has been forced upon him. So with that being said, I interpreted the ending as Sammy deciding to be free for the very first time in his life by choosing to enjoy his talent. So in short, no, I would not say this is an anti-Christian movie, nor that the ending is supposed to imply that Sammy has renounced his Christian heritage. In fact, I think that this is actually Sammy's way of trying to appease what his older cousins wanted for him, as well as what he wanted for himself. There is no moment that he felt freer other than that moment when he was playing music for everyone and they were all in love enjoying. The rest of his life from that night is literally him trying to recreate it every single night with different people, only to realize that he will never be able to truthfully encapsulate the experience he had with his family. This is definitely a beautiful, tragic movie. I don't know if I can recommend to watch it if you're a Christian though, and I have to be honest when I say that. I think this is a must-watch Black movie, especially if you have the lens to comprehend the historical and religious undertones of it. But I'll be honest and say that the spiritual side of me definitely was having some difficult times with certain pieces of the movie. It does have a message, but I'll leave it up to you to decide whether or not that message is demonic. If you leave a like on this video, comment down below your review of Sinners, tell me what you thought, who your favorite character was, and what your favorite